Well, I'm on the farm today, and I've been doing some bush hogging on the hill where we have some old pasture that was clear cut a number of years ago, and we try to keep it bush hogged down at least once a year. The autumn olives grow like crazy, and I mean they'll grow over your head in a year, and so it makes for some tough bush hogging, and so my brother bush hogs back there, and then I help, and I've been using my old Hardee 5-foot bush hog and the Model 50 Massey, and you can see all the autumn olives that are and trash it's accumulated on this tractor. Yesterday evening I was up there, and I got into a stump and just about killed the engine on the tractor, and I had a loose, I guess my belt up here on the fan was loose, and between the engine kind of hitting and missing, trying to recover. This is a Perkins 3-cylinder diesel. The belt came off, so I got to tighten that up, put that back on and tighten it up. And I got a bucket of tools here to kind of help me along. And you can see all the debris that gets on the tractor. It's a pretty, when you see what I'm doing, and I'll take you along a little bit, you can see why it'd be nice to have a 15-foot batwing. Have to keep this clean, and so it's pretty extreme for this tractor, but it seems to be getting it done, and this is what we have, and this is what we use. And of course my brother's got his own tractor, and so I want to get this fan belt on. It's kind of overcast today, and it's not supposed to rain, but I'm not so sure. But I'll take this cooler weather. I know last night I was up there towards the evening, and as I would go that way, the sun was right in my eyes. It was pretty blinding. But in any event, let me get this belt back on and check the fluids and grease everything up, and we'll head up on the hill. So right here, we've just crossed the top of the hill as we're coming in, and then so let me just keep going here a little bit. So I have obviously mowed all of this and then going around and going up the hill, and I'll show you here in a little bit. Just kind of getting back to where I threw the fan belt last night. You know, how in the world did I get back to the tractor shed without overheating? Well, it was cool. It was cool outside, and it was getting close to being dark. And really the only hill I had to climb to get off of here was what we're going down right now. So I put the tractor in second gear high range, pretty much at idle, and I came off the hill. The goal was to go fast enough to kind of push a little cool air through the radiator to get me, back to the tractor shed if I could, and that worked out. Kind of a testimony to these Perkins engines are so tough, and in a lot of ways cool running. So it's kind of hard to see right here, but maybe we'll get on out here a little bit. But what I did is I went all the way around and then all the way up to the woods, and then came back down. And as I would get as I would start to get gaps between where I was cutting, I'd just finish off a section, you know, like this right in here. But I'll come back. So I'll try to finish off this strip in here, and then I'll move on to the next one on up the hill. I finished clearing this strip. Still got more to go up there, but this is mowed on, I can do this, from this side of the trail coming up here all the way down. And I'm motoring down this way a little bit. When I first started the video, the tractor really pulled down hard, which is really not typical of this Model 50. In even in these tall autumn olives, and the autumn olives, you know, none of them are really over an inch thick. But get down here a ways and I'll show you what I'm up to. So as you can imagine, if I had a 15-foot bat wing on my Massey 1105, that would be pretty sweet. Let me get this thing parked for a second and I'll come back. So I just got the Massey idling there a little bit with the bush hog, and so what messed me up last night was this stump right here. And what happened is I high centered on it. That old bush hog right there does not have a stump jumper, so I try to watch and be careful about where I put the center of the bush hog, and that seems to be a pretty good strategy. It's worked for me for a long time. But you can see this stump is rotting out, but it's a pine stump. And then when I first started the video and you heard the tractor pulling down, what it was not the autumn olives or even the steepness of the grade. My bush hog got into this stump right here, and it starts pounding away and slows everything down. My slip clutch works, but it'll still pull down the tractor. And but I'd really like to have a 15-foot bat wing on my big Massey Ferguson for two reasons. One of them to keep this from growing into a jungle. If I had a nice bat wing, you know, I'd mow this probably every time it got about knee high. And then also, we've done this before, hammer these patches with herbicide that'll take out the woody plants. And but we haven't done that in a few years. But I get my 500-gallon tank sprayer going, it'll be a lot easier. You can imagine a 50-gallon sprayer going all the way down to the main part of the farm and coming back up here. It's not very efficient. So not that I would put 500 gallons in that tank and come down that hill, but certainly we'd put a couple 100 gallons in there to kind of get us going over here. But I got more to do, and the Massey 50 seems to be doing okay. And I'd like to have this to be a hay field one of these days, but we have these stumps to deal with, and I can't run my cutter. I can't run my cutter over this stuff with that. But I don't know. I would be curious to you guys that have these just straight disc mowers with a breakaway on them. You know, what kind of conditions are you cutting in? I realize that's a pretty extreme stump, but you know, a solid object is a solid object. And you know, even if I come up here, you know, right here's the remnants, and some of these stumps that aren't decaying, they're cedar stumps, and that's part of the reason they're just not decaying. There's a lot of stumps that have, I was looking for one, it's on down there. Sometimes you hit them and the whole thing just comes out of the ground, or they explode, the pine stumps. But in any event, if you've got a you know, a straight disc mower, I'd be curious as your thoughts about running it across something like this. Will it break back? Will it float up over it? I mean, have you got skid shoes? You know, it's one thing to have a cutter that'll break back. It's another one that's held on both sides like my crone, and if you high center a stump like that, you know, you've probably broken a cutter bar in half because you're pulling it from both sides. Yeah, if you got comments about that, I'd be curious to hear about it. Let me get back going. I'll come back. All right, so I finished this strip right in here. This is my high ground field that I make hay on. You've seen another video. And so I've cut all the way up to the woods. Eventually I'll go all the way over to that line of, looks like autumn olives, but actually the places that we're not cutting, there are loblolly pines planted. And so this goes all the way down and down to there. So, you know, it would be an amazing hay field if we could get it into that, because it's big long runs. You know, I would go from the top to the bottom and come back. And this would probably be round bales in here. Maybe if it's light enough where it's not steep, you know, maybe in here I would do some second or third cutting squares if I could get them. And so the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go around the back side of this field down into here, and then when I get done with that, I'll be working on the top of that swag right over there. Sometimes my finger where I'm pointing doesn't necessarily match up with what's on the camera, but the top of that swag would make a nice hay field one of these days. I just don't really want this thing growing back into a jungle. And now obviously I can do this with the Model 50. My brother's got a tractor and he bush hogs. You know, it's one thing once a year to come across this brush, but it is time consuming, and I did take a day off from work to come up here and to cut on this some. And actually I'm taking 2 days off. And but the the goal of the 15-foot batwing would be obviously to cut all this, and as I may have said before, it would be nice to exercise the 1105 Massey throughout the summer and maybe on up into the fall. And it'd be nice to mow this stuff when it's about knee high, hammer it with the herbicides to get the woody plants out of it, and somehow we would have to deal with the stumps. Again, back to my comments about a straight disc mower. I'd be curious about that. But also just the time component, a day job. I feel like with a 15-foot batwing, everything we've got, and you're not seeing everything. I mean, there's stuff back over that way, and down on this side going down that way, and then obviously across the road, just from even clipping fields. But I feel like I could do this whole thing in a day with a 15-foot wide mower. And so this is kind of where I'm going to leave it. I'm not going to do any kind of a series on this and bore you to death cutting, but kind of taming the jungle, if you will, with the Model 50 1962 year Model 50 Massey Ferguson and the Hardee 5-foot bush hog. And hope you enjoyed the video. Hit the like button, subscribe, comment, and we'll talk to you later.